Sometimes I think to myself, what's better than a shiny Pokemon? Well, I finally have my answer, and that is 3 shiny Pokemon. Now of course you can hunt for as many shinies as you'd like, but there's something special to me about having multiple shiny variations of one Pokemon. For example, Pokemon like Shallows and Gastrodon have multiple forms, and therefore multiple shiny forms, and that trend continued in Scarlet and Violet with one of my new favourite Pokemon, Tatsujiri. So I made it my goal to obtain all 3 shiny forms of Tatsujiri, and I decided to use a different method for each form for a little extra fun, starting with the outbreak method. I kinda expected it to be a difficult outbreak to find, but on my first reset, I had an outbreak for the curly form, so I was off to the Castle Royale Lake. Now this was my first shiny hunt in Castle Royale Lake, and I pretty quickly found out that it's not exactly ideal. The frames can be a bit... yeah. And I soon discovered my new least favourite Pokemon, Veluza. Game Freak love doing this thing where some water type Pokemon, like Sharpedo and Barraskewda, really don't like you, and feel that the only way to settle that beef is to straight up assault you. Now, generally I wouldn't really care. It can be a bit annoying, but it's not the worst. However, when I'm circling the same area over and over and over again, it can get pretty frustrating. So I figured out a solution. Tatsujiri isn't only a water type Pokemon, but also a dragon type. So I started making level 2 dragon type sandwiches which did 3 things. Increase spawns of curly forms, increase spawns of stretch and droopy forms, and reduce the spawns of every other Pokemon besides Dratini and Dragonair. The stretch and droopy forms weren't affected by the outbreak odds, but anything to not see another Veluza. Now to be honest, I've been really lucky in Scarlet and Violet so far. It took me 55 hours to find my first shiny, but since then my luck has been pretty crazy, and almost every outbreak has been under 2 hours. Unfortunately, that didn't continue here. But let me give some context first. Once I start a hunt, I don't like stopping until I find the shiny. Now generally this is fine, with an abundance of shinies in the last 2 games, but I had the bright idea of starting this hunt at 12:30 at night, expecting it to be quick. 7 hours later, I'm still awake, still doing the same hunt, and about to hit my breaking point. And there it was. A Veluza had slipped through my dragon type sandwich barrier, and it felt like a great signal to give up and go to bed. But stop, and let's remember how I mentioned the sandwiches also spawned more stretch and droopy forms. Well, let's go back about 5 seconds and focus on that hill right in front of me. That right there is a shiny droopy Tatsujiri, and despite a great attempt to spoil it by the same Veluza, I finally have my first shiny of the video and my sandwich shiny obtained. So with the elation of finding the shiny, I decided it was finally time to go to bed and pick up the hunt the next day. Now I was ready for another 7 hours of hunting, but only 30 minutes after picking the hunt back up, I hurried over, and to great relief, almost 8 hours of hunting later, my shiny curly Tatsujiri and my outbreak shiny finally obtained. So with 2 of the 3 shinies caught and 2 of the methods complete, there was only 1 method left. I explained it in my last video, but the process of breeding is pretty simple in Scarlet and Violet. You head to Alphanada and buy
Compote du fils.
Anyway, you buy one of those, which gives you egg power 2, and then you get some foreign dittos and the Pokemon of your choice in a party for a picnic, and the eggs come pouring in. So I did this, then hatched, then did it again, then hatched again, and then did it again, and you get the memo. However, once I hit 200 eggs, I briefly postponed the hunt because I was in pretty desperate need for Herbamysticas, so I did some raids with my friends. Now this may seem irrelevant, and you may be wondering what this has to do with breeding for a shiny Tatsujiri, and my answer to that is nothing. But on my first raid, this happened. So yeah, a shiny Gardevoir in my first raid of the night. With the absurd luck of that, I felt like the universe was going to balance itself out again and my luck would be straight back in the bin. And I wasn't wrong. At this point, I locked in and got ready for one of the longest hunts I've ever... Oh. So about 8 hours of overworld hunting and 220 eggs later, I can now proudly say I have a party of 6 different looking Tatsujiris, and I've completed the hunt I wanted to do as soon as Scarlet and Violet came out. So thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.